In this video, we're going to install this I Ididit Pro Lite column in my 64 Nova. If you're wanting to install one of these in your car, and you bought one like I did, there's a few things you need to know. First of all, it says it's wired for your car. You have to buy a special wiring harness to make this work for your car. Second of all, the instructions they send with it and the instructions online are for their retrofit, why can't I say it? Retrofit steering columns. So they're useless for this column. But what you do get is a mounting bracket for your firewall, or this one actually says for a floor. But it comes with like this heim joint looking thing that bolts to a piece of metal. I'm gonna try to make that fit on my firewall somehow, because the column part does not go through your firewall, just this shaft. So the firewall floor mount that they sell for the retrofit steering columns will not fit on this. It comes with that. It comes with a turn signal knob, a horn wire, and a little button for your hazards. The problem that you're gonna have with this piece is the original steering column, or where the original steering column goes through the firewall, is on a bend. It actually, here's the original bracket. It actually goes like right in the middle of this bend. So mounting this on that bend is gonna be somewhat tricky. You're gonna have to figure that out. If had my car been a automatic car to start with instead of a column shift, I would probably just cut the stock steering column down and made it work instead of buying an aftermarket one, but I was kind of stuck with what I had. I did luck out that the steering wheel adapter that I had on my old steering column, it's just a GT Grant steering adapter, probably bought AutoZone or something. It does actually fit on this steering column, so I can mount a 3-bolt steering wheel on there if I want. I don't know what I'm gonna use for steering wheel just yet. I'll probably just use this adapter, any of the steering wheel was on it, or just a little cheap steering wheel. All right, let's get this thing bolted up in the car and see what it looks like and see what we gotta do to make that fit. Then I'll measure for my steering linkage between my gearbox and the end of my steering shaft here. And I'll order those parts and hopefully get this thing put together and it steers. And then if I'm lucky, once I get that together and it steers good, the headers will actually clear all this and I won't have to redo it. Okay, when you get in here, you're gonna take the bottom bracket off that was holding your steering wheel off. And then there's a bracket right here that's just held on with like these little clips, and they are not easy to get off. But you take that off. All right, this is gonna be a little bit tricky. This bracket right here is what holds your pedal assembly on. And these bolts are, I don't know what they're attached to. Like a piece of flat strap or something down there, 2 bolts on each end of it. So I think it's gonna be a fight to get them on there. If I can just get it on there enough, oh no. If I can get it on there enough to get the nut started, on at least one side, shouldn't be too bad. But I got them started on both sides. Alright, there it is mounted up. As you can see, there's not really a big gap or anything right there. I think it fits pretty good right there. There's like an even gap all the way around it. Doesn't look bad at all. Getting that mounting bracket on the bottom is going to be the trick. Just trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. I'm going to unbolt that piece off of that metal, that sheet of metal, and slide it on there and see what that looks like. See what we can come up with. It kind of goes in the bottom of that hole on that slight flat spot there. I don't know. I've seen me taking the steering column on and off about 100 more times. But I've got to figure out some way to mount that bracket on there to make it work. This would have been easier if this column was built like the retrofit column and had the clamp that holds the bottom of the column in, and you wouldn't have to fab anything. Alright, I think I've come up with a solution. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try it. I've been taking this thing on and off, putting the steering column in and out. Tried mounting this to this. That don't work. So now what I'm going to try to do is take this, trace it on this piece of paper, make a new one. I'm going to take a piece of 2-inch tubing, put through it. Probably going to cut this about that long. I'm going to take and weld this piece to the tubing just high enough where I get the nuts on and off between this and the firewall. And hopefully that works. And the only thing that I'll have sticking through the firewall will be just this little piece of tubing here. So I should be getting away with having to use the boot that goes around the steering column. I don't know. I'm gonna cut it out, weld a couple pieces on it, see if it works. I feel like I did it. I should have done a little research on this and made a bracket for guys that just want to buy it and bolt it on. Turned out pretty close to the drawing. I'm just gonna lay this paper on here where it goes and then take my little Harbor Freight center punch and punch the center of these holes right here. Then I'll take it over drill press and drill those out. Then we'll have to figure out how we're gonna bend this thing. All right, got that cut, got my holes drilled in it. Now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna mark it for this bend. I think I'm just gonna lay it on there and mark it with a Sharpie where the bend is. Clamp this down to my table. Just push down and bend it by hand. And this is one of those times I wish I had a metal brake, but this isn't a very big piece. We'll make do with what it is. It's hard to tell because that thing's got all kinds of funky bends in it the way it's made. I'm just gonna try bending it right here, seeing if it fits on the firewall, and if it does, we'll get that pipe fit into it. So the bend's not like straight across. It's kind of an odd angle, so I'm gonna have to mess around with it a little bit just to get it to fit. I'm gonna try to fit it up on the firewall and see what it looks like. Okay, I got the bend to fit pretty darn close in there. Basically I had to bend it right here and right here a little bit. It's kind of a funky angle inside there. It's not just a straight crisp bend. But I got all the screw holes to line up and it's sitting flush, so I'm gonna call that a win. Now I gotta trim this out a little bit more so I can get this pipe to fit through here at an angle. It don't take much, just a little bit of trimming. I'll have that sticking through there. Then I'll take the bearing holder and I'm gonna tack it to this, stick this in there a little bit, and we'll fit this back in the car and see what it looks like. Hopefully that's correct angle. I think we'll make something work either way. I'll just tack that bearing holder on there, tack this pipe to this, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, here's my plan. Put that on there like that, drop that in there. I'm probably only gonna be sticking up about yay much in there, just enough to get the nut behind it. I have to flop these bolts around. Just enough to get the nut behind it. I'm not going to weld this or cut this to length right now. I'm gonna test fit it and see if it'll work. So I may have to trim more out to get more of an angle on this. I didn't want to cut too much out of it because I do have to weld it back and I don't want to be trying to fill big, huge gaps in this thin metal. Okay, I got it all mounted in there. There is that. It's just sticking up a little bit. I'm gonna have to pull it apart, take that piece out and weld it, then put it back in, get the angle set right on it, tack it, then pull it all back out, finish weld it, cut the pipe off where it's too long, then put it back in. So I only got to take this steering column in now about 5 or 6 more times. There it is coming through the firewall. Now this pipe will be cut off flush with the firewall. But I put my little angle finder on the steering column itself, and then I put it on this pipe, and I mean I'm 0.2 degrees off there, so I think that's gonna work. So I'm gonna get this piece taken out, get it welded, then we'll get back to this point, and then I'll tack it in a couple spots to hold it where I want it, pull it back out, weld it again, cut that off, then hopefully we'll put it in for the final time. All these like self-tapping screw things that comes from the factory to hold that piece in, I'm gonna drill those out and put 1/4 inch bolts with lock nuts on them to hold that in, and I'll get a new gasket. I can order those online for about $6, $7. So we'll get a new gasket on there. And this will actually be better than the original because the original's got a hole right here for the clutch, and I'm not running a clutch right now. Okay, now I'm gonna weld this thing, finish welding this thing on. The trick is gonna be welding this and getting enough penetration without getting any weld inside of this cup right here, because that bearing rides just inside that cup. So I just have to carry most of my heat on this pipe. Hopefully we'll get it. We'll see. All right, I've got it mounted in there. Got that piece all welded, got it mounted in there. I gotta go on the outside, and I'm gonna hit a few tack welds on the outside of the pipe to weld that in the angle that I want it at. Checked my angle right here with a degree finder. Checked the angle on the pipe outside the firewall with the degree finder. Matched them up as close as I can. Looks like it's pretty square this way. So I'm gonna throw a couple of tack welds on it. I would also like to say thank you to Jim and Sue for sending me these awesome lights. I still haven't even charged this one. They're rechargeable lights. They got them off Amazon. But that little square one I haven't even recharged. I haven't even charged it since I've got it. I've just been using it for a couple of days without even charging it. So thank you, Jim and Sue, for the lights. Welders stack dimes. I stack quarters. Or throw them in a pile anyways. It actually turned out a little bit better than I thought it was going to. I'm going to attempt to cut that off straight. Maybe. I thought about using the plasma, but I think I'm just going to use a, I don't know, I might just use a Sawzall. Cut fairly straight with a Sawzall, I guess. Diablo blade. Well, there's the finished product so far. I'm gonna clean this thing up, put a little paint on it. All right, there's the finished product. I think it turned out all right. As long as it fits, it's all right. If it doesn't fit, it's not all right. Okay, here goes nothing. As you can tell, I took my gauges out so I can stick my hand in here, hold this thing easier. It does help out quite a bit, being able to hold it like that. Let's just put one nut on there. All right, now. Okay, there's what it looks like from the outside. You can see the bearing up in there, and pretty much the whole splined part of the shaft sticks out of that. Put some light on it, maybe you can see it. All the spines are sticking out, so hopefully the U-joint piece will fit on there without interfering with this. If it does, we'll just take it off and cut more off of that. It's all trial and error at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and put the steering wheel and the turn signal and stuff on there. This is the hazard. Come on now. Feels like it's cross-threaded. Cross-thread's better than no thread, they always say. That's the hazard switch. Turn signal. let's go ahead and put the steering wheel adapter on there. Looks like it goes about like so. Somewhere got a little cover for it. Right there it is. Put that piece on there. Probably should have put all this stuff on it when it's on the ground. Okay, got the steering wheel on there. I had to fight it. This little cover for the adapter for this Grant steering wheel, they kept rubbing the steering column, so I just kept taking it off, taking it over to my flapper disc and just grinding a little bit off the back of it until it didn't rub anymore. My only other complaint with the steering column is the canceller. Canceller works fine that way. If you're turning right, the canceller does not want to disengage. It does not want to cancel the turn signal. So I think it's crap for the expenses. As much as this steering column costs, it should work out of the box. It worked that time. So it just works sometimes. It's a part-time canceller. It's in the mail. I got the 1x48 by 1 double D, the 5/8 by 36 blind by 3/4 double D, and I got this telescoping shaft, which is 1 inch on one end and 3/4 on the other end. So this shaft is 27 inches fully extended. It says that you can cut like up to 10 inches off of it to make it 17 inches long. I think I need somewhere around 23, 24 inches, somewhere in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the column, this on the gearbox, and get me a measurement from there, and I'll cut this thing to length. Okay, well, I've eyeballed my tire straight and my steering shaft straight. So try to get these as close as I can to straight up and down on the shaft. All right, reading the directions, when you measure this, you don't want to go past the spot where the shaft actually sticks out into the U-joint area. So it looks like mine needs to be, I'm getting 21.5. All right, got it cut the length. See if it fits. That fit in there. All right, tighten these set screws up. Maybe it'll leave a mark on the pipe on the tubing there. I need to mark that tubing so I can drill a hole through one side of it for the set screw. This telescoping feature is not as easy as it could be. Back a little bit. There it is. All right, now that I got it put together, I'm gonna turn the wheels lock to lock, see if it lines up anywhere. It doesn't look like the angles are too bad on this, so I don't think it's gonna lock up anywhere. My thoughts on this steering column though, I mean, it's a good looking steering column. It's super light, man. The thing weighs maybe 5 pounds. It's not heavy at all. I mean, if you're looking for a light steering column that looks good, this is a steering column for you. If I was to do this again, I would probably just get like a cheap universal 2-inch steering column, like out of Speedway Motors or Summit or Jegs or even eBay. Then you could use the I Ididit floor mount, which is nothing more than a couple of tabs and a hose clamp. But all in all, I think it'll work. It looks good in there. Once I get my start working on the interior, get the seats and gauges and everything in there, this thing will start looking pretty cool on the inside too. Hopefully on the next episode I can work on the rear suspension. I'm waiting on my rear end to come in. I ordered it a month ago. It's back ordered, so I'm just trying to do other things until it gets here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.